Okay, here we go. Everyone knows how this goes. There's no there's no editing. There's no second take. Once the camera goes on, I go on, and this just goes. And we do. That's a lot. Too many goes. The information just gets put out there, and we'll worry about the consequences later. Tonight's whatever the hell you want to call this. Again, remember, I'm like on a 20 to 25 minute limit here. My fitness video consigliere, Devin Peterson said, and correctly so, once you go over 20, 25 minutes, people lose all interest. It's kind of like a guy who tries too hard in their first few dates. So what I want you to see here is tonight is all about basic program design. By the way, the head, the hair, just so you know, I actually was trimming my hair and it was really normal. And then what happened was they're doing some construction out here on Nottingham Way, and they must have hit like a pipe or something, and there was this big boom, and I was trimming around the side of my ears with the little trimmer and right over the top. So I had this like crazy like design in the back of my head, which if I was 15 would have been kind of cool, but as a 46-year-old, it just looked horrific. So don't mind the head. This is not a statement. I'm not trying to say anything with this, other than I screwed up cutting my own hair because I'm too damn cheap. So, it's my second so. Enough so's. The reason why I titled this tonight, Basic Program Design Training the Leather Daddy, is because this is the exact routine that I used to train a leather daddy to get ready for a leather dance. Let me qualify this. It represents the first 3 to 6 months of the training program I use to train the leather daddy for the leather dance. And the reason why this is actually relevant to you non-leather daddies not going to leather dances, you may not even own one harness or a pair of biker boots, is because his training in the first 3 to 5 months, 3 to 6 months, was really indistinguishable from the training that the average person needs in order to build a little muscle, be as functionally independent for as long as possible. Life happens, all right? It's not fair. No one gets out of this thing alive. And to make yourself a little harder to kill. And I don't mean like those prepper people with all the guns and the canned food. I mean like if you go in the hospital and you're a little fitter and you're a little stronger, we want to make you a little bit more likely, not the littles, a little bit more likely to survive because you have some muscle on you. We want you to be a little more likely to be resilient to disease because you have a little muscle on you. We're not trying to win an Olympic gold medal here. We're not trying to get you stage ready for the Mr. O, jack you up on Slin and Trenbolone, right? This has nothing to do with the wacko. I remember one time I'm going to go way over on the video, by the way. The whole 20-minute thing is done with right now. I remember one time I was talking to this guy at a seminar. He was jacked, but he was like a maniac. And he asked me what my conditioning routine was. And I said, I walk dogs in an animal shelter like 2-3 days a week. And then I mow my own lawn and shovel my own snow. And if the weather's bad and I don't walk enough, I'll go on the treadmill once or twice a week for 20 to 30 minutes. And by the way, when I had to do my stress test after my father passed away of his heart attack, my heart tested excellent for an 18-year-old. And I was not 18 at the time. I was in my 40s. And the guy looked at me after hearing my whole story. He looked at me with this serious face. And he said, well, how are you going to be ready for it? Be ready. And I said, ready for what? And he said, for anything. And he did that thing where they don't blink and one eye's kind of like bigger than the other. You know what I mean? And that to me just summed up the fitness industry as far as these program design videos are for the people that I'm designing the program for. I'm not designing you to be ready to take over the government. I'm not designing this for you to make up for all the things that you don't like about yourself. This is not that. And I couldn't believe every video I saw out there was either designed for that population or it went on for 20 or 30 minutes, not with cool anecdotes and funny stories and explanations of bad haircuts, but with you got to screen this, and you got to assess that, you got to do this and do that, and no one ever even talking about the goddamn exercise routine. It's like everything's so friggin' overcomplicated. Look, the only screen you need to do for doing a routine like this, which will give you everything you need from a fitness routine for your average everyday goals, If you need to see a doctor to make sure your heart is healthy enough for sex before you take Viagra, you need to make sure to see a doctor to make sure your heart and everything else is healthy enough to do this. If you go through that screen, forget about all the magic and voodoo that the guys who wear shorts for a living want to put you through. That stuff can help, but it's not necessary. It's not essential. And all it does is freeze people from actually getting started because they think they have to go to friggin' Jiffy Lube of exercise and have some guy get under the hood and check their oil. This works. It's worked for 20 goddamn years. I love telling people. I'm very proud of that fact, right? But it's worked for 20 friggin' years. So when someone goes, you're not assessing, you're guessing, and you're not... Whatever. You live in your fantasy land, and I'll live in the one that's been paying my bills for 2 decades. So enough. If you're a trainer and you came to watch this, you want to tweak your nipples about all the intricacies of program design, this isn't for you. This is to help my clients and average everyday people make some sense out of how to put an exercise routine together so they can get started on building a little muscle, getting a little stronger, not trying to lift a Buick out of a roadside ditch, which somehow is important to people. It was important to me at one time in my life, and then I blew up my back and I woke up. This is all you need. This is all the leather daddy needed, at least for the first 6 months. And like I said, your goals in the first 6 months of your exercise routine are literally indistinguishable from his. And actually, your goals are easier. It was harder to train him. No pun intended. It was more difficult to train him because he had so many bad habits that we had to get him out of that we had to spend 3 to 6 months just retraining him how to do the exercises correctly. It's kind of like when you, God, I'm rambling on. I'm sitting there complaining about other trainers rambling on about stupid stuff, and now I'm rambling on. I was going to say, it's kind of like when you learn how to shoot a rifle, and the instructor will always tell you it's easier to teach a woman than a man because most men grow up watching action films, so they pick up bad habits. So if this was good enough for the leather daddy, and I can get into a further video when we got him ready for the big show, it'll be good enough for you. Because his goals eventually became way more complex. But all you need to do, oops, I left something out. 3 days per week. If you want to not maximize, but actually see usable results from your exercise routine. Right? I'm going to say this again. You do not need to use anything more complex than this. If you get more complex than this, I'm happy for you, but you don't need it. Trainers are notorious for overcomplicating these things. I could go on a whole rant about that, but I've already ranted long enough. You need one exercise for your chest. You need one exercise for your back. You need one exercise for the front of the thigh. One exercise for the back of the thigh. These are your tier 1 exercises. They are the most important things that you do. You want to do these exercises for 6 to 12. Some people do a little better with higher reps. I can get into that later. 6 to 12 reps, taking one, and by the way, just so if you don't know this, a rep is up and down in the lift, with a 1-minute rest between sets. So sets are a series of reps brought together. 2 to 3 days a week in this volume. 9 to 12 sets. Done every 7 days, once every 5 days. So let me qualify that again. The most basic thing you need to do is pick one exercise from each one of these muscle groups. Pick a weight that you find challenging between 6 to 12 reps. Take 1 to 3 minutes rest between sets. Do it 2 to 3 days a week, equaling a grand total of 9 to 12 sets per week, done every 7 days, done once every 5 days. So here's how that works. Let's say you take chest and you choose to do a bench press. And you pick a weight that's difficult for you between 6 to 12 reps. You take a minute rest between each set. You do it 2 to 3 days a week. You want to get, by the end of the week, this is where most people screw up, is they don't get adequate volume. They'll come see me for a while. They'll come see me and they'll get 3, maybe if we're lucky, 6 sets in a week. They need to get 9 to 12. They do the session with me. They figure, all right, that's it. I can just walk away. Yeah, if you're really out of shape, You might be able to get away with less than 9 sets of a chest exercise per week, but you need at least 9 to 12 if you want to achieve anything meaningful that you can use outside the gym. Unless you're some maniac who uses super high intensity to the point where you vomit. Then you'll need a lot less volume than this, but I don't train anyone like that. So it's irrelevant. Again, don't overcomplicate things. Go over again. Chest exercises. You want to do at least 9 to 12 sets of chest once every 7 days, done once every 5 days. So what that means is if you do, say, 3 sets of chest on Monday, and you do 3 sets of chest on Thursday, and you do 3 sets of chest on Saturday, 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. It's done over a 7-day period, so I don't want to hit that 3rd day next Monday, because that's more than 7 days. And likewise, I don't want to do this. Do all 9 sets and not repeat them again till next Monday. For average, everyday people, this will not work very well. For advanced bodybuilders, there is some application for this. But again, I'm not writing it for them. There's too many damn videos for those people already, and there's not enough for you. I pick a back exercise. The key thing is, even if you're seeing Shank 1 or 2 days a week, don't think that the 6 sets that we get of back in a week is enough. You need to get at least 9 to 12 sets every 7 days. So if I see you every Monday and Thursday and we do 3 sets on each of those days, by the time I see you again next Monday, I need you somewhere in this gap here to get 3 more sets in, because that'll give you your minimum of 9 sets every 7 days. Just remember, you don't do them all on one day. You got to work this muscle group at least once every 5 days. So again, it's not 9 and then wait 7 days. Yes, you hit your volume. Yes, you hit your number, but you violated this principle right here once every 5 days. Again, this is for clients and average everyday people. If this is for trainers, we could get into studies and research and why this type of frequency works best. Don't worry about any of that right now. All I want you to worry about is knowing what your requirements are. And if you were to get really saucy and aggressive, if you pick 1 exercise for chest, 1 exercise for back, 1 exercise for the front of your thigh, 1 exercise for the back of your thigh, 1 exercise for your shoulders, 1 exercise for your biceps, 1 exercise for your triceps. And for the tier 1 stuff, you did 9 to 12 sets every 7 days, once every 5 days. And for these tier 2 smaller muscle groups, which are also used in an ancillary way in these exercises, but not vice versa, if you do them for 6 to 9 sets every 7 days, once every 5 days, you basically have program design down pat. Which is kind of messed up, because despite all my inane rambling, I literally just covered everything you need to know about how to design an exercise program that works and is effective in about 3 or 4 minutes. Now, if you want to go do a bunch of assessments and screens to find out how to make this work a little better, be my guest. But don't be frozen in time and space when something as simple and as accessible and functional and workable as this exists. Now, you're going to have all the crazy exercise people. They're going to come up to you, and it's funny. The bodybuilder people will get upset because I didn't include calves in here, right? Because calves are important. And what's interesting is, when I trained the leather daddy, we never did any calf work. And the reason why is he had amazing genetics for his calves. But the thing was, because he was a leather daddy, he had to wear biker boots. And his calves would get too big to fit inside his custom-made biker boots. So in the spirit of this guy, Scott Abel, who always says, you got to make the program fit the client, not the client fit the program, we eliminated calves because they didn't work for him. But if you wanted to do calves, say that was really important for you, you wanted to have big bulges below your knees. I'd rather have big bulges above my knees, but whatever. You would just put it in this tier 2 group of 6 to 9 sets done every 7 days, once every 5 days. So just soak that up for a second and just make sense of that. I'm going to review it all over again because it really is that simple. For average, put the Windex down. For average, everyday people, I'll squirt myself in the face. Let's just forget the whole tier 1, 2 thing. You need to pick one exercise for chest, one exercise for back, one exercise for front of the thigh, one exercise for back of the thigh, one exercise for shoulders, one exercise for biceps, one exercise for triceps. Just one. 9 to 12 sets every 7 days, done once every 5 days. 6 to 9 sets, done every 7 days, once every 5 days. This means get this amount of sets in a week. This means don't try to put it all in one day. It's got to have some degree of spread in order to work effectively. Now, and hence why you're doing it 2 to 3 days a week. So one of the questions that might come up is, well, if program design is really this simple, if it really is simple as picking one exercise for each one of these 7 muscle groups, if it's really as simple as getting this volume of sets or this volume of sets, depending upon whether you're using bigger or smaller ancillary muscle groups we're going to use in addition when you use these, but not vice versa. So for example, when you do a bench press, your triceps have to work very hard, especially if you have really long arms. Your triceps work super hard. But if you do, say, like a push down or a skull crusher, for triceps, the chest doesn't have to work as hard. Plus, the chest is a much bigger muscle group than the triceps. So both of those factors are why the number is different. I don't want to overcomplicate things, but that is something that's important enough to know, is they don't require, nor should you be doing the same amount of volume for them. It's just not necessary, and then actually you'll have a hard time recovering from it because it is a smaller muscle group and it's getting a lot of work when it's doing these exercises anyway. So the question always is you'll get a lot of like noise and information from trainers out there, and they'll get all upset and they'll see this insanely simple program that I put together. And they'll be like, well, the bodybuilders will get upset about the calves, but not about us. So this actually kind of makes sense to them. It's a beginner exercise program. And guess what? If your goals are moderate, again, you want to build a little muscle, not develop giant man boobs on your chest. If you want to be able to get around to life a little easier, not try and retake Omaha Beach. And if you don't have this bizarre desire to live forever, but you do want to be a little more resilient to the things out there that can take you out, this will work as well, if not better, than anything else out there because it's so simple to follow. I'm going to repeat that again. If you have moderate goals for exercise, it literally is this simple. And you'll hear all types of trainers get all pissed off at this and be like, well, Shank, the body isn't made of muscles. What the hell is chest and back and shoulders? The body does movements. Look, here's what you have to understand about personal trainers. On average, and there's some really wonderful fitness professionals out there who really want to help people, but on average, there's like 2 main groups of trainers out there. There's like the hustlers who we stealing cars or selling bad cell phone contracts to you as much as they'd be selling you personal training sessions. And this is just some other avenue that they're working their side hustle in. And then there's these people that are like this bizarre mix of arrogance and massive insecurity. And so they feel this need to overcomplicate everything. Not because about what you need. Here's the bold statement. This is what you need. They need to overcomplicate everything because it makes them feel better. It makes you dependent upon them, which makes them feel awesome. So they're like, well, you should do body movements, not muscle groups. And they'll come out and they'll tell you that you should do like a vertical push and pull, right? And then you should do knee dominant. Knee dominant, I don't mean like people in leather who kick you in the knees. And you should do hip dominant, which probably would be a little bit more fun, right? They'll come up with these movement patterns on you. Well, guess what? Guess what chest is? It's horizontal push. Guess what shoulders is? It's vertical push. Guess what back is? Well, it's pull, both vertical and horizontal. All right? Guess what front of the thigh is? It's knee dominant. Guess what back of the thigh is? Hip dominant. Sometimes it's just a matter of the way people like to speak, but a lot of times it is people try to overcomplicate things. I said that already too many times. To somehow have this false perception in your mind of some kind of incredible religious-like expertise. It's just not necessary. Now, the one I would say really legitimate point people would say is, why the hell do you have a job? Why the hell would anyone hire a personal trainer? If it really is as simple as one exercise for each of these 7 muscle groups, done every 7 days, once every 5 days in these volume guidelines. That's a very valid question. So the reason why I have a job, well, first off, some people have more complex goals than this, so this does not apply to them. But I'd say there's probably 3 main reasons why I have a job. I would say, number 1 is because of hate. Right? There are people out there who simply hate exercise more than anything you could possibly imagine. And if they don't have a trainer, and more so, they don't have a 24-hour cancellation policy that they are held accountable to, they just won't show up. People who hate exercise hire trainers so that they're forced to exercise because life doesn't require you to do much exercise anymore. Back in the day, exercise equaled survival. So you had to exercise whether you liked it or not. Nowadays, that's not the case. So that's number 1 is people who need to work out but don't want to work out, they need to be held accountable. And they tend to work harder when they have somebody watching them. I'd say the second reason why is it's the idea of just, you want to, I don't know if I'm writing this right, optimize. Am I writing that right? Who knows? Who cares? I didn't go to school for spelling. That made no sense. They want to optimize what they're doing. So while it is as simple as chest, back, front of thigh, back of thigh, shoulders, buys, tries, done for 9 to 12 sets or 6 to 9 sets every 7 days, once every 5 days, I probably should just put this up on the board instead of all the rest break stuff and all that. It would make things very much simpler. But they want to optimize because not everybody is built to do the same exercises the same way. And this is another group this pisses off, is this, there's only X exercise you have to do. You know, so you got people think, oh, all you got to do is squat, bench, and dead, or all you got to do is the Olympic lifts, or all you got to do is carry anvils and tires, or whatever. All you got to do is use bands through amazingly crazy Mikhail Baryshnikov movements. And they get all wacko about this stuff. Because they have certain movements they think are the only ones that work. And so here comes more of that massive insecurity matched with that massive ego. They try to convince you somehow that there is a optimal way for everyone. It sounds like every religious nut tries to blow something up, doesn't it? Just a little more violent. What I help people do is I help them figure out what is the best chest exercise for them. And if they're sick of the chest exercise that they're doing, I help them figure out how to do different variations which are also right for them and also right for their body type. And also, here's a big one that the barbell people don't seem to get. Right for their mindset, their mentality. Some people don't like a bar crushing down on their upper back. Some people don't like a bar about to crush down on their chest. And the barbell people are like, well, they just gotta stop being a bunch of pussies. And it's like, no. People are who people are. And these people who they label as being weak or not tough live lives outside the gym that do things that would blow the barbell people's minds. So stop with this whole, there's only a certain exercise you should do, there's only certain exercises that matter. So I help people optimize this by figuring out what are the best exercises and how to properly execute them for them. If you want to see a perfect example of this, there was a trainer, Sohee Lee, and she told me about one time she went to a department store and saw this dress on a mannequin. It looked amazing on the mannequin. And then she put it on and it looked like total crap. Now, just to make a point, she's a fit, attractive person. So the odds are more that the outfit would look good on her than it wouldn't look good on her. But because she's built different than a mannequin, the clothes aren't going to look exactly the same. Well, human beings are like multiple different types of mannequins running around out there. We've got different length arms, different length legs, different length torsos. As you can see by me, different sized heads. Right? So we all have different proportions where different exercises work better for different people. And if you try it long enough, you can figure out what some of the optimal movements in the gym are for you. I just help optimize time also by speeding that up. By working with somebody and taking them through the motion, then I would do the assessment then. Once I actually start getting them moving and get them on some type of program which will help them overload the body and build some muscle. I'm not going to put all that stuff first in a routine that's this simple and safe. And I would say the third reason why I have a job is I'm a fun guy. You know, a lot of trainers always ask me what's the most important thing that I've learned after all this time training. And I always think of that scene in Step Brothers where they go to try out for the job with Seth Rogen. And he says to him, all I really need is a couple guys I don't mind spending, like, I can get this quote wrong because I'm a little excited right now. I don't mind spending about 8 hours with. You guys seem like the kind of guys to do it. What most personal trainers are these fountains of information that are the John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell of the next 5 seconds of that scene. Where John C. Reilly, after Seth Rogen says that to him, says, hey, I think you're cool. Hey, I think I want to hang out with you for an hour. 8 hours. John C. Reilly farts. And Seth Rogen can actually taste the onions and ketchup on the tip of his tongue from John C. Reilly's fart. And most trainers, metaphorically, are like that hot, wet, stinky fart that smells like onions and ketchup. They have all this knowledge to blow this away. But no one can stand being around them for an hour. If someone really doesn't want to be in the gym or it's not their number one thing, you want to be the kind of person, you don't have to be a clown, unless someone doesn't act like one. You want to be the kind of person that somebody wants to be around for an hour and not kill. I make all of this a lot more entertaining. I make it a lot more fun. I make it a lot more enjoyable, and then I help optimize it. And if you don't want to be there, you now have a forced incentive to be there. That's really what personal training does. If you try to complicate it more than this, you're not doing your job for the most part, unless you're working with some special population. Try to think if there's anything else I want to address here with program design, because it really is that simple. We got the muscle groups, we got the frequency, we got the reason why someone would work with a trainer in the first place. Get rid of that hate there. I don't want to keep that up on my board and jinx it. It really isn't much more than this. So what I would say to my clients especially is the problem I often see, you guys, whatever the correct phrase is, I don't care, you guys, whatever. The women know I'm not talking to them. Being verbally lazy, whatever. Is don't think that our sessions are all you need to do. Because that's where we get in trouble. Where we get in trouble is less about violating this and more about violating this. We need this type of frequency about 48, maybe 46 weeks out of every year. And at 46 to 48 weeks a year, you can get 9 to 12 sets of these in. And you can get, sorry, I gotta refresh that. And you can get 6 to 9 sets of these in. I sound like a damn broken record, but I really gotta pound this home because it's interesting. There's a guy, Jay, he runs a website called The Workout Routine. He's probably the only person I've ever seen who ever talks about any of this. I don't think he has a video on this. No one talks about this. It's just these massive diatribes of overcomplication. If you can do this for that, if you can figure out what the right exercises are for you and not someone else's religion as to what those right exercises are for you. I mean, if you're a guy, just go and try and buy a suit off the rack and see how stupid it looks. And you'll understand that people aren't all built the same. Even then, that shouldn't stop you from starting an exercise routine. You're good to go. It's almost like I don't have enough content for this video, Because basic program design is basic. It's that simple. And no one writes it out. I'm actually just happy that the board's stuck up against the wall. So let me think for a second. If there's anything else that we need or want to cover, what questions would people have about this? No, there are no ideal exercises. I've had people do only machines on this while I train them to do more complex movements with a barbell or with dumbbells. I've had people do this routine on only machines while I did all the necessary corrective stuff to optimize the work that they're doing. What I won't do is have someone do 45 minutes to an hour of foam rolling and special rotation exercises. Oh, I know one thing you need to know. You know why I don't do that? Because even building muscle is really freaking simple. And I left this out, and the powerlifters will skewer me for this, and they rightfully so. They have no right dropping their stupid gym bags all over the floor for people to trip on. But, for some reason, they always have knee wraps in their bag on bench day. It makes no sense to me, but whatever. How do you build muscle? This is not a mystery, by the way. This is very simple. You don't need a degree in physiology to figure this out. You provide a stimulus. Let's be very specific about this. A mechanical stimulus with the muscle. You do a bench press for your chest, mechanically you move the weight up and down with good technique. You're going to provide your body with a degree of mechanical stimulus. That mechanical stimulus then results in a chemical reaction inside the muscle. That chemical reaction sets forth a cascade, all right? This is Windex, that's cascade. A cascade of adaptations. Should have got a bigger whiteboard. I don't even know if I'm spelling that right. Adaptations. Well, Jesus Christ. Whatever. I can't spell. Let's just do that. There we go. Beautiful. A cascade of adaptations which helps you build muscle, get stronger, and be functionally independent for as long as possible while making you harder to kill. It's that simple. You lift a weight. It provides mechanical stimulus. It results in a chemical reaction inside the muscle. Your chemical reaction results in a cascade of positive adaptations as long as you don't overdo it. Picking one exercise for every one of these muscle groups. Done 9 to 12 sets or 6 to 9 sets every 7 days, once every 5 days, is the necessary volume and type of mechanical stimulus you need to set off the chemical reaction in the muscle to get the cascade of adaptations you want. Now there's one other thing, because I've covered volume here. I've told you type is way overhyped. It usually represents somebody's bias more than anything else. And tends to negate the individual. And again, all you have to do is look at that Sohee Lee or Shank story about the suit to understand that in real terms. There is one major thing I left out. I think this is what would piss the powerlifters off because they're awesome at this. This is where they dominate. In addition to adapting in terms of building muscle, denser bones, stronger muscles, more competent movement patterns, the body also adapts to the degree and not the deodorant, the degree of mechanical stimulus. So over time, the mechanical stimulus that once caused the chemical reaction, which once got you the adaptations, is not good enough anymore. You may lift a 10-pound dumbbell, and it may set off enough of an alarm inside the muscle to be an adequate mechanical stimulus to get that chemical reaction. But 2-3 weeks from then, your body's going to have adapted. It's going to have adapted up here also. So what you need to do is create a greater mechanical stimulus to force the chemical reaction. The body's just going to laugh at it. I think the best analogy I ever heard, which never has made sense to anyone with me, is one time this guy Paul Chek said, it's like putting a Navy SEAL on Space Mountain at Disney World. These are people who jump 40,000 feet out of a plane, swim miles into enemy territory, and then blow shit up. they're not going to be scared of a roller coaster at Disney. Well, your body's kind of the same way. At a certain point, what was once a scary enough mechanical stimulus to force to have the reaction to have the adaptation is no longer enough. So you go from a 10-pound dumbbell to a 15-pound dumbbell. You go from 10 pounds on the machine to 15 pounds on the machine. And over time, through a thing called progressive, I don't mean like the hippies who want to blow everything up, progressive tension overload, you create a greater and greater mechanical stimulus to keep up with your body's adaptation to the chemical reaction. So it's even more simple than that. And there's a lot of ways to create a greater mechanical stimulus. You can lift more weight. You can do more reps. If you go from 6 reps on an exercise to 8 to 10 to 12 with the same weight and the same rest break, guess what happens? You just created a greater mechanical stimulus, which by all things being equal, will result in a greater chemical reaction and better adaptations. And if you don't do enough, it's not going to be adequate and the body will, at least, at most, at best, maintain. It won't grow anything new. Grow anything new. It sounds like you're growing a tail. It doesn't make any sense, but whatever. So you can use more weight. You can use more sets instead of doing 2 sets. Instead of doing 9 sets per week, you get 10 in, then 11, then 12. This here, all things equal, will result in a greater mechanical stimulus. This 12 sets will result in a greater mechanical stimulus than 9, and at some point you're going to need it because your body's going to adapt to this. So weight, sets, reps, less rest, more complex movement. You could go from something like, say, like a leg extension. Leg extension, yeah, that's right. Leg extension to doing, say, something like a squat. And then go from doing something like a weighted squat to doing a weighted split squat. And that's way too simplified, but you get the point. You could just never do anything other than the leg extension, and to a degree, as long as you kept adding more sets and adding more weight and adding more volume to a degree, right? Once you start getting beyond this, we're in a whole different territory beyond basic program design. You would increase the mechanical stimulus, you could get you a chemical reaction that's large enough to get more adaptations. So that all of a sudden, the 1-mile walk that was hard becomes a 3-mile walk that was hard. It becomes a 5-mile walk that's hard. That the grandchild who you couldn't hold on to now becomes easier to hold on to, even though they're older and they're heavier. It becomes the box that you couldn't pick up without hurting your back, that now your body doesn't even think twice about picking up because you provided it with a mechanical stimulus that gave it the chemical reaction, that gave it the adaptation, that it got strong enough to make what was once heavy light. And I'd say that's about it. Pick the categories. Get the volume. Volume part 1, volume part 2. Understand the way muscle is built. And this works the same for average everyday people as it does for world-class weightlifters. It's just where your end point is. Where do you stop? Right? There was a guy, Eddie Hall, years ago, deadlifted over 1,000 pounds. And he almost died. He had like a stroke and he forgot his wife's name for 3 days. And I remember the first thing all the weightlifting meatheads said was, after all those terrible things that happened, he comes with this amazing thing. They all said, well, who's going to deadlift 1,050? Right? You don't want anything to do with that world. That world is insane. Now, it's a world filled with people doing amazing things and pushing their body to limits that no one thought was possible. But it literally has no relevance to what you're trying to do. But the basic principles are the same for them as it is for you. So that's about it. What I'll do is I'll post this up. I'll send it out to my clients tomorrow. I'll have some people look at it and review it, say what they wanted to hear more of, what they wanted to hear less of. But I really wish I could get, I actually don't wish. I'm glad that for average everyday people, this is all you need to do. This is it. And it pains me, and I'm going to have to sit because I'm going to start getting all serious. It pains me that the fitness industry has just become so overcomplicated. When really what we need to do is start taking basic stuff like this and figuring out how to get people to see it to be important enough to do so that they can, as Jeff Ezikoff would say, make what they do in the gym, make what they do outside the gym better. Because the population that I train, again, I already called out the trainers who are like, oh, it's way more complex than this. I don't want to train you. I don't want to train your clients. I don't want to train anything to do with what you're doing. That's nothing to do with the Ezikovian philosophy. Right? This is what you need to do. Or look, there's good trainers who do variations of this or something slightly different than this, and I don't care. The bottom line is we're all stuck by this. How do we create the mechanical stimulus, gets the chemical reaction, that gets the cascade of adaptations? How do we get it done in an adequate volume and degree, load lifted, sets done, reps lifted? And here's the skeleton right there. Now, if there's other program design videos out there that have this, then please send them to me. I'd love to see them. And I'd love to shake that trainer's hand. Because what I've been inundated with in the industry over all this time is 6 chapters before we even get to this. And if your goal is just moderate, the only chapter that should be in the book before this is going to see your doctor to make sure that you're healthy enough to exercise. And then all that other stuff, you know what? If you want to powerlift, I think that's fantastic. You could learn the power lifts while following this basic stupid program. Because these exercises are simple. I say basic and stupid because I'm biased by the douchey weightlifting meathead background that I lived in for decades. But it really isn't stupid because it gets everything done you need to get done. And right now I'm just rambling. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I have to say. Again, I do this all off the cuff. It's not like I write a script for this. So yeah, we'll get this out to the clients. We'll have them take a look at it. And we'll get some feedback. I got some bad news. I got some feedback from people. They wanted me to make a high-protein cookie recipe that actually wasn't as clever and wise-ass as I was. Then I found out that the high-protein cookie recipe I was going to use involved an ingredient that's out of stock. And I don't want to be accused of not following the recipe. So I got to wait till this one ingredient comes in stock, some special like peanut-flavored protein powder, before I can do it. And a couple of people had asked me about this kind of thing going on with Optavia on Facebook, so I got to get into that. I think I'm going to title it something like the 5 dumbest things that Optavia coaches say. But that's so negative. It really is. It's like the worst parts of me coming out. But that's what we'll do. We'll get this out. We'll have people watch this. We'll have them tell us what made sense, what didn't make sense. Maybe the whole goddamn thing doesn't make sense, and I got to figure out a simple way of explaining it. But I want my clients to see this. I want my clients to see, hey, look, we can't stay at the same 10-pound dumbbells forever. We can't just rely on our personal training sessions to be an adequate amount of volume for you to get the results that you want. Because remember, that mechanical stimulus, it just can't be in degree. There's also a volume to it. You need this volume of mechanical stimulus in addition to the heavier weights, more reps, more sets, more complex movements, less rest breaks, in order to get that reaction and adaptation that you're looking for. And if I can just get 1 or 2 of my clients who are trained once or twice a week or once or twice every other week to hold themselves to this numerical standard, this video is more than worth it. Because besides diet, the one thing that really holds people back, I find with results, is that they're not getting this frequency and volume in. I've said it already twice, I'll say it again. They come in just for a session, they don't see him again for a week. They don't see the gym again for a week. They don't see a dumbbell again for a week. And as you can see, that's a violation of the volume of the mechanical stimulus. So that's it. I'm just ranting on. We'll get this thing out there. Uh-oh, the screen locked. Please forgive me for a second. Just get my code in here. I'll probably edit this out later. And I won't edit. And we'll just get this out. How long is it? Oh, shit, Devin's going to be pissed. It's 45 minutes. We'll get this out there, watch it, See what you think about it. You probably could get away. You probably could skip the first 5 minutes of me bitching and moaning in my self-important diatribe. And I'll put something in the show notes which say skip the first 5 minutes of Shank being an asshole and skip the last 10 minutes where he's friggin' rambling. And that takes off 15 minutes. It's still 30 minutes, but it'll at least help you get out of this what you need to get out of it. And that's it. I will talk to you all during the week when I see you for your sessions. I will talk to the people in the general public with the emails you send me, and I look forward to doing this again next week. I'm glad the whiteboard stayed up. This was awesome. We'll do this again next week, and we'll give you a little clarification on the information here that may have been incomplete. So thank you very much, and goodbye.